Hello everybody.
Hello.
Here we go. And we're going to be talking about Mission Impossible, because here we had Prussia, which looked like a jigsaw puzzle, and Madalena is going to explain how the Fredericks, the two Fredericks actually, and probably there were several others, but there were two main ones, got it all into shape and into some sort of logical situation and created Prussia with a capital P, which was quite something to be talked about.
Yeah,
Okay.
we know that at the beginning of 1700s, Prussia looked like more or less like this. Bitterly poor, with 1.5 million inhabitants, the land infertile and a minority, more or less 1% of the population, which exploits the majority.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah. Last time we mentioned one Prussian king, but don't worry, we don't want to make a boring list of all the Prussian kings. Yeah, it's a relief for us as well. And we just picked on a couple of them because we consider them most interesting for our purpose. Their names are Frederick William
And Frederick?
the Second.
Okay.
Frederick William went down in history as Le Roi Sergeant. His nickname...
Le Roi Sergeant.
Mais oui.
The soldier king.
It was the time of enlightenment.
She got it right this time.
Yeah, fortunately. It represented quite a big issue for the far German gloomy province.
That northern misty place, but we'll come back to the Enlightenment later.
Yeah. He was a kind of workaholic, Frederick William, and because legend has it, for example, that at 4 o'clock in the morning he was already sitting at his desk working.
Why was he so obsessed with working?
Well, he had basically one thing in his mind, that is the monstrously bad financial situation of Prussia.
Yes, basically they were destroyed and bankrupt and devastated after the 30 Years' War.
Yeah, there is a particular event which influenced his life as person and his task as king of Prussia. At the beginning of the 18th century, plague killed thousands and thousands of people in Prussia. Plague.
Okay.
Some estimates about 250,000 people
Died?
Yeah.
My God, we sort of forget about that. Europe was devastated by plague. It wasn't just that country, it was all over Europe.
Especially the years between 1709 and 1711 were horrible. And Frederick William was there. He was somehow witnessing this disruptive event, and he couldn't do anything but witness how his neglectful and corrupted ministers, the ministers of his country, of his own country, couldn't do anything. They had no means to get out from that situation. And he could only see how poor people died like the flies from plague and from famine-related illnesses. It was really a shock, a tragedy for him.
Yes.
Corruption, inefficiency and wasting money were the three main problems he had in his mind when he became king of Prussia, and he wanted to eradicate them in his country.
And that's not an easy job. So how did he do that? How did he do that?
The starting point was the army. A strong Prussian army which would first of all guarantee inner stability. Discipline and order became the key words of a new national culture. From a political and historical point of view, Frederick William was the highest point of absolutism in Europe.
So he didn't trust anybody else to do the job, so he took all the power into his own hands, and that was absolutism.
Yeah, this is a very light version, of course, of
Yes, okay,
absolutism.
yes.
And this very independent attitude that he had was a characteristic that he shared with his son, Frederick II.
Yes. Basically, they didn't. With the corruption, the inefficiency, and the waste of money, they had a clear mind about how they wanted Prussia to be.
Yeah.
And taking the power into their own hands, not delegating any more than was necessary, and keeping a sharp watch on what was happening they were able to do this.
This might sound even positive, I mean, because they were very efficient, they knew what to do and how to do it, but at the same time that represented a complete lack, a complete absence of democracy.
Well, I think that was something that came in a bit later, and in reaction to that.
Yeah.
Because then corruption, inefficiency, waste of money comes in again under absolutism, but not in this case.
Frederick II became King of Prussia when his father died in 1740. Some dates are important here and there.
So yes, just vaguely to know where we are on the time scale.
Well, this Frederick was so intriguing because he became King of Prussia even if he didn't want to become one.
Because his father wanted him to be his heir, his successor, to carry on the good work. But he didn't have that in mind at all, did he?
No, he wanted to become a philosopher, a writer, a musician. He spoke French better than German, for example.
It's those French again, those French. Now let's talk about those French. Why are they so important here?
Well, everything which came from France at that time was perceived as brand new and original. Even in Prussia, the French element represented a very important issue. In the first half of the 18th century, about 10% of the population in Berlin was French. French migrants integrated very well and very quickly, and they got important jobs at court and in scientific institutions.
These are the Huguenots that you mentioned earlier on?
Yeah, a part of it. Frederick II was inspired by these people. And so he wanted his own country to overcome its backwardness in almost every field.
Politics, culture, painting, sculpture,
Finance,
yes.
Philosophy,
Outlook on life, revolutionary ideas.
Something more now about Frederick II.
Yes, because he did start out with this passion for culture, for philosophy, for art. He really wasn't interested in becoming an absolute king like his father, an administrator. So what happened?
Well, first of all, the result of this, what happened, of this event. While his father was known in Europe as the soldier king, he was known for being a crazy monster, a genius, also
a
genius.
God, a genius, a real genius. So, but what does genius mean here? Where does this word come from?
This is another brand new concept coming from France at the time.
Those French.
You know, yeah, it's...
Les Français.
Yeah, this is because France was at the time the cultural core of Europe. Everything new started there.
Remember also that geniuses have to work very hard. They don't. They have a gift, but they have to polish it.
Being crazy, what did it mean actually? What does it mean? It means that he would deceive enemies, and he would betray friends, of course, not only enemies, friends. He would betray allies without a second thought.
So what happened? Why he changed from being an artistic, culturally interested person, and he became an absolute monarch like his father.
Yeah, well, something sad happened when he was young, and he ran away with a friend of his. And his name was Hans Hermann von Katte. Eventually they got caught and his friend was executed in front of him. His father, Frederick William, wanted that as a punishment. Frederick II had no other choice than to surrender to his father's will, and so he accepted to do everything his father wanted for him. He would marry a woman that he didn't love. He would become maybe the most significant king that Prussia ever had. And on the one side, he would ruin his life, but he would save his nation. He would help his nation to become what then it became. So he led a very lonely life.
Yeah, that's terrible. He never had any children with this
woman.
No,
he didn't want to father a child.
He didn't even want to touch her.
No, not his wife at least.
That's terrible.
Yeah, because he thought, and he said it, that Prussia would find another solution. He didn't have to be the father of the new heir. Maybe because, yes, this was somehow the legacy that his father had left him.
Yes.
You know?
Well, he could have had a son as weird as he had been. Have we got anything more to say about?
No, I think that's it.
That's it.
For today.
Okay, yes.
Bye.
Bye.